The simple animated game project. So when you open the project, there's a main.js which imports our app. App imports index. And as we'll remember, if you don't import things into this index, nothing is going to run in your game. So there's some starter code here that says, hey, you can run this start animation code to start the animation. And if we look at animate, I've already given you some starter code that has an animate function, which itself just clears the screen, calls do updates, calls do drawings, and then we export this start animation function, which just requests the animation. So when we uncomment this, it will begin the animation. And we have canvas code, which just sets up a canvas and exports it. If we run the code as is, nothing will happen because we haven't yet imported that canvas code. All right, so if I want to make a new drawing, the first thing I would do is create a new module. Let's say I'm going to draw an arrow, so I'll call it arrow. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and import the canvas setup, which we're used to, and I'm going to export my new object. Export const arrow. And my arrow is going to have an x and a y coordinate. So I'll give it an x. We'll start it at 10, a y, 10. It's going to need a draw method and a move method. So it's going to need a way to draw and a way to move. So when we draw the arrow, I'm going to say, hey, ctx, begin path, move to arrow.x minus 20, arrow.y, ctx line 2, arrow.x, arrow.y, ctx stroke. That will just make a single line. I guess if I wanted to make this fancier, I could draw the little up and down arrows, but I always like to begin very simple. So I've got to draw and a move. If I just wanted to see my arrow work, I could just import arrow from arrow, and then I could call arrow.draw, and there's my little line. And if I wanted to refine that drawing, I could come in here and I could start making some refinements. Like there. Now I will add a little up thing on my arrow. Maybe I'll make my arrow longer. Oopsie daisies. I'm just going to add the little up and down. There we go. Now it kind of looks more like an arrow. I can change the angle there if I want. All right, lovely. And I can make this longer if I want. Interesting. Oh, I see. I'm not seeing the full arrow because it's off the screen. Let's move it over. Yeah, that was too long an arrow. There we go. All right, so I've drawn my arrow. Now I don't really want to draw it here, so I'm going to uncomment that. What I want to do is put it into my animate code. So let me run my animation code. I'll come into animate, and I will import arrow here. And then in my do drawings, I'm just going to call arrow draw, and in my do updates, I'm going to call arrow move. And I now have my arrow. It's not moving yet because there is no arrow move. So let's try an arrow x plus equals 1 just to move the arrow. And now it will move. And I could decide on my movement style. So my arrow is going to stick to the edge of the canvas. So I'll say if arrow.x is less than canvas width, arrow.x plus equals 1. And now my arrow will fly until it hits the edge of the canvas, and then it will stop. All right, and if I wanted to make my arrow fall, I can add arrow y plus equals 0.2, let's say. We'll make it fall as it comes in. There we go. And now the arrow is falling in a steady way. Very nice, which is not actually how arrows move, but that's okay. That's a pretty good arrow. So that's the basics of how you make a new module and how you import it. I make a file, I export a constant, I give that a couple of methods. I can then import that same file and then use those methods in my update and my draw code.